It's time!
What's kicking, everybody? We are back for another episode of Pickin Fights. I'm Keith, joined as always by my amigo Tom. Tom, how are you today, man?
Oh, I'm doing good. We're testing out the separate monitor setup here. Hopefully it's a better presentation for the people. I don't know, my glasses looking crooked. I don't know. You want to talk about something crooked, the potential judging last night, robbing Volkanovski of that second round. And, for everybody watching at home, me and Keith watched it together in his wonderful house right there. And I was, when it got announced, the decision, I was kind of on the side of like, I don't know, no, I knew the second round was going to be the deciding factor right away, but I had thought just, watching it for the first time, I thought Islam did win that second. We immediately stopped, went back, rewatched the second round. Dude, I think Volk won it, man. I think Volk won it. There was like a minute and a half, 2 minutes where he was defending the takedown. He did get stunned, but he also dropped Islam. Right. And he showed he should definitely get points for being able to defend off those takedowns. And I think he landed more damaging shots in that second round. And I think it was enough. We talk a lot about the fact that position is not necessarily going to or should win you points. It should be damage. And overall, the person who landed more damage in that second round was Volkanovski. Verdict MMA had it. Verdict MMA had him had more points overall. Man, I'm sorry. I know you're hurting.
Yeah, no, I'm still pissed. The UFC has a major judging problem right now. And
feels like every week we're talking about something like this.
Yeah. Okay, so it's very true. All of social media is talking about it after every major UFC event. The trending topics on Twitter after a pay-per-view or basically after every pay-per-view are UFC, robbery, and then the name of the person that got robbed. So last night, the trending topics were UFC 284, robbery, Volk. And this happened a few weeks ago. It said UFC, whatever the MSG card was, robbery, Flash Gordon, Paddy Pimblett. It keeps happening over and over and over again. And they seriously need to do something about it. I don't know if it's that the judging criteria changes or like we've had some judges, like the guy that scored the Paddy fight, I believe, comes out and he's like, well, I judge it based on boxing rules. No, you judge this based on the rules of MMA and not what you think the rules of MMA should be.
Right.
Okay. Like for somebody to score that fight 49-46 last night, there's something very wrong there. It just doesn't make sense how anybody could come to that conclusion that it was 4-1.
Yeah. And I think in that, he gave Islam every single round except for the fifth. And I think the third was very clear. The other two scorecards, had it going for Volk in the third. Everyone, I think, in their mother kind of watching that fight had it going for Volk in the third. We have Islam tweeting and being like, oh, well, I rewatched it and I only lost 1 minute of that fight. It's like, yeah, fuck you, dude.
Ali
tweeted that. Yeah, Ali tweeted
fucking
that.
Scumbag, whatever. We were talking about it last night. Ali is a bad guy. And these fighters really, sure, he's a great manager and does a lot for them. But if these fighters had half a brain, they'd some of them under Ali's management, like Islam, for example, they would stop allowing Ali to stop tweeting from his account. Like he should not be. It's just whatever. That's not Islam.
Here are the scorecards.
Yeah.
From yesterday, and you're looking at it, and all right, so we don't have Doug on here, our main guy, Doug. But yeah, I don't know what Derek Clearly is watching here to score the third round for Islam Makhachev. Obviously Ben and David Leffelby. How about that? Sounds like an Australian last name, man. That sounds Australian if you ask me. But either way, like that's rough. And you would think, we talk a little bit about judging and maybe potentially some bias here, but like you would think at least down under, Volk would get the benefit of the doubt in that second round that was largely back and forth, but where I thought watching it back the second time, he convincingly won or did more damage. And let's see if we can pull up what Islam Makhachev, or should we say, there it is. Watch tape. And to be fair, out of 25 minutes, Volk got the last 1 minute.
That was in response to a tweet from Volk where he was like, just watched it back. And to be fair, I think I won rounds 2, 3, and 5. Surprised I didn't get my hand raised, ready to go with anybody, anytime, anywhere. And then Ali tweeted that for Islam like 2 seconds later.
I mean, yeah, but listen, I mean, we look at this is what we were talking about with the verdict MMA, kind of giving the first round and the fourth round to Islam. He did have his back threatening with that rear naked choke for a good portion, at least the end portion of that. First round. I know we were pretty nervous. There's also points in the fourth round where you were like, all right, he's going to win. All right, he's getting choked out. All right, he's going to win. So it was a real roller of emotions that first and third round. But yeah, no, that second round, you see verdict, is giving it to him by the 0.19, pretty solid in the seventh, with the third round and the fifth round. And you add them all up, he's going to end up overall ahead. So, I would like to see something maybe a little bit more similar to this be instituted in the UFC, to where there is an aspect of the overall winner. Like if you have a giant round, like the fifth round that Volk had, that should be able to make up for the other rounds where maybe it was a lot closer. And also, we were talking about this yesterday too, the prospect of like maybe later rounds in close fights being valued a little bit more heavily, not in necessarily blowouts or whatever, and not necessarily overall, because you don't want people maybe sandbagging for the later rounds. But when fights are really close, it is up to discretion. So why don't we allow there to be a little bit more discretion to say, like, yeah, listen, it was really close in the second round. Volk had it in the third. Islam had it in the fourth. Islam probably had it in the first two. The fifth, Volk had it handily. If we're going to tabulate up all of the points, so to speak, if they were to coagulate from each round, why can't we do something like what verdicts is saying here, where it's close and the overall points is going to matter for Volk? Like, I don't know why we have to be on such a strict 10-9 must system here.
Yeah, there's a few arguments to be made. I do like to some degree the idea of maybe like later rounds counting more, like you said, but then it's also like, if you were playing a basketball game, like what are you going to make, 3-pointers now worth 6 points in the fourth quarter, so it's tough. It is a sport, like it is a fight where, you should be able to fight 15 minutes hard. And, if you fight harder at the end, then maybe that counts for more. But, it is a sport too. And it's a sport with a set of rules. And, the only people not following those rules right now are the judges. And maybe Don Shainis kept kneeing Jack Jenkins in the balls last night.
Oh, yeah. Those, I think Jack Jenkins was getting a little bit of benefit of the doubt on them. None of them landed clean on the balls. Not saying he didn't feel it, but like, there was some inner thigh action. There was some, lower abdomen action that was going on that, is a little rough. But like, you look at some of these screenshots of Islam Makhachev. I think that tells a lot of the story. And then even when Islam was threatening, Volk was sitting there, he looked like he was living it up. He's truly a showman. And,
I want this motherfucker to admit that Australia has wrestling now.
Yeah, I really would. Like, even you got to say, like, all right, like, I mean, he did say that he put up a bigger fight than they were expecting. I just want to pull up this one thing because this was happening, I think, late last night. Because, remember, this was happening like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon for them. There was something where I just saw where he was like out at a club or something, and everyone was looking at him, and he's in there dancing, like shadow boxing, like. Homie looked good. Like homie, like he was looked like he could have went another 2-3 rounds, especially at that pace that he was setting out to finish the fight.
He did not wear any damage on his face after that fight.
That big cut right there, and that was really it.
It wasn't even a big cut. And then you look at Islam, and Islam's got a black eye. He's got the Cro-Magnon forehead from getting pounded on. Fucking dude, Islam looked like he had actually been in a fight, and Volk looked like maybe he'd been sparring with somebody's little brother. Dude, I mean, look at this. Now, it would have been nice to see him start the fight this way, but...
Come on, Goddard. End the fight. You know you want to.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I wish that was him stopping the fight, to call it.
And then you look at when you find Volk. This is what I loved in the fourth round, because Islam was just literally laying there and praying. Like, if you're Volkanovski and he's sitting there, he's turning around and punching him. Like, I got to give Volk some points for this too, because who's landing damage? What is Islam really doing? He's just holding him down there. Volk's not conceding the position, but Islam is refusing to do anything offensive.
Right.
And Volk is turning around. He's running around. He's making faces at the crowd. He's talking to Islam's corner across the ring. He's landed punches. He's talking to Islam saying, come on, fight me, fight me, fight me. Like, come on. Yeah, there it is.
This is
such a frustrating fight to recap and watch.
100%.
These guys talk about the robbery.
Yeah.
Check this out.
As a judge too, just real quick. I don't know how you could look at that position with Volk landing those shots, and not that they were hard shots or anything, but who is trying to be more offensive in this moment?
Who's trying to fight?
Yeah, because it's not the guy with his hooks in and just holding on a Volk seatbelt. Yeah, exactly. And he's like, "Oh, brother, don't get up, brother, please, brother, please." Like, that's not who's winning that moment. It's the guy that's talking shit actively, and he's like, "Yo, let's fight. Like, either advance the position or let me up so we can keep fighting. Otherwise,
Right.
what the fuck are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
what I really liked from last night, though, is that, and I appreciate Volk for this immensely. First of all, always, I almost said always gracious in loss, but we've never really seen him lose. But he showed that Islam is very human last night. You had Islam walking around with this like, "Oh, I'm the next Habib, I'm unbeatable," very cocky, and whoever he goes up against next has a nice game plan, that they can use to exploit Islam. Like, if you walk him down, he's kind of a pussy. Like, he was on his roller skates going backwards a lot last night. So
he
now
did land some shots, to be fair. He was landing his shots there,
certainly,
at points. But,
he wasn't that, and he had that one great takedown. He had one takedown that was really like, whoa, I think in the fourth round. But outside of that, he looked very human. And I look forward to seeing Beneil Dariush beat him, because I think that Beneil Dariush, should he get through Charles Oliveira, is the guy that, could, crazy.
And the scrambles were really well done by Volkanovski too. And then also the other thing that I was noticing a lot yesterday is, watch this. I think it's a left or a right hook that comes from Islam. Volk, boom, just totally over his head. I think that, like, being the shorter guy definitely made finding that range a little bit more difficult for Islam Makhachev. And then also trying to get him down, having that lower center of gravity and being so strong. Like, I think Volk might be the prototypical guy built to take on the Dagestanis. They're going to weight bully you. Well, I'm going to lower my center of gravity. I'm going to have anti-wrestling. I'm going to get under your shots, and then I'm going to come in here clean, and then boom, watch this, takes him right down. I don't know if that was maybe, I don't know what he hit him with right there to get him on the ground. This left hand, because he goes over. Yeah, that left hand right on the chin, boom, drops him, sits him down. And he did that a couple times. He sat him down a couple times in that fight. So,
yeah.
Either way, I will die on this hill. I will say that was such a good performance. He borderline won. He probably should have won. But even with that, he put on such a great performance. You can't take the pound for pound number one away from him. He went up a weight class. He's the one putting everything on the line. Islam put his belt on the line against the guy who's traditionally 10 pounds lesser than him, 5 inches shorter than him. Like, and isn't traditionally a wrestler. Like, Islam did not put a lot on the line for this fight. So for him to then achieve the number one pound for pound without risking too much, and in a fight where he basically lost, I think that's disingenuous. And you got to give Volk, listen, you lost the fight by the decision. Whether right, wrong, or otherwise, you still need to be the pound for pound number one, because it's not like Israel Adesanya went up there, against Jan and got dominated. And you're like, okay, well, clearly Izzy can be at 185, but he can't hang at 205. Volk can hang at 155, 100% without a doubt.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. And I also believe that he could potentially hang at 170. But, listen, at 155, your argument's 100% correct, because Volk went up there, and there's every argument to be made that he won that fight. I don't know. I think Islam fans are somewhat delusional to not concede anything. Like, I could say, as a huge Volk fan, okay, like, Islam clearly won rounds 1 and 4, right? It's clear. And they're like, well, no, he won 24 minutes and Volk only won 1 minute of that fight. It's like, dude, shut up. Like, so delusional. But
with that being said, there's a couple other people on this fight that I wanted to mention. Yair locking up that triangle choke.
Sick.
On Emmett. Really good job. And I mean, listen, but is anybody really questioning that Yair Rodriguez and Volkanovski are going to have all that competitive of a fight? What does Yair Rodriguez do that Brian Ortega doesn't? He has a little bit more creative kicks, but I think Volk is going to see that coming. He's going to be quick. Yair's quick, but so is Josh Emmett. And listen,
Yeah.
I think I don't have too many issues with Volk going up against Yair Rodriguez, and always a good sport. Saying, hey, I am still the 45-pound champion. I'm going to fight Yair. I said I'm going to fight 4 times this year, and I'm a man of my word, and I'll meet him again in the 155-pound division. I'm not done with them. Like, yeah, damn right, not. You're the fucking champion, bro. Jack Della Maddalena getting a big win. Knocking Randy Brown in the second round there, or the first round, and then go and finish it with a rear naked choke. Really just putting his precision and his fight IQ on display, showing like, hey, listen, I can drop him, but I'm not gonna get outside myself. I'm gonna fight within my means, and draw.
High fight IQ.
Jimmy Crute, still a good fight. Tafa not winning the $50K bonus for doing a one-stop shop knockdown KO of Parker Porter, flatlined him. A nice left hook. That definitely was the. Do you think he deserved a bonus? Tyson Pedro, oof, that was disappointing.
Yeah, big time. Yair Rodriguez. It was good that he was on last night's card because I have a couple friends that maybe like don't watch fight nights and they just watch pay-per-views. And one of my friends is unfamiliar with Yair Rodriguez. Shout out Fred. Fred, you moron! This guy texts me and goes, Yair Rodriguez has never fought Volk, right? And I was like, no. He's like, well, I think Yair could beat Volk. Like, dude, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Now, hopefully, Volk won't lose to Yair Rodriguez. It's just not going to happen. But I'm like, all right, look, I gave him the MMA math about Holloway and Yair and everything. And he was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. And went back to being stupid, on his own time. But just kidding. Fred, love you. But yeah, no, that was good because that kind of helps build a little bit of hype, especially like Australian fans now get to see in front of them who the next guy that Volk is going to fight. So it might make them a little bit more invested. People that are Volk fans that maybe didn't know Yair are a little bit more invested now because they got to see who Yair was. And, Yair did look pretty flashy last night. He was very impressive. And Josh Emmett just didn't have it. He really didn't have it last night. And it's unfortunate. Last title run. Potentially, guy's a little bit older, but we've been seeing that a lot in this featherweight division where you have a lot of guys making like their last title run, and there's this brick wall at the end named Alexander Volkanovski that they can't get past, and so these guys like the Emmets and the Korean Zombies and the Holloways of the world, they can't get past him.
It's Volk, and then there's I don't want to say super significant, but you could tell that there is a big drop off when it comes to who the champion is and the skill sets of all the challengers. Just they don't have it's kind of like when Khabib was champion. It's just nobody has what it takes to get rid of Volk, and you almost need Volk to take a step back, take a step down, and have his skills or abilities diminish for anybody else to have some hope.
The last thing I want to say about last night's main event is that if Alexander Volkanovski just exposed the way to like take down Dagestanis, not take them down physically, but like defeat them in a fight, he might have just ruined that whole region's economy. Like they might go into a major recession because what do you hear about Dagestan exporting? Wrestlers and Hasbullah? What is Hasbullah going to have to carry the nation of Dagestan now? I don't know. It's going to be weird. But
moving on to what we got this weekend, UFC Fight Night. Andrade versus Blanchfield. Had to create this morning because of the short notice. This is the closest thing we have to a banner. You can check it in the thumbnail and check out my handiwork. I tried to match those spots as best as possible, but
that's good.
Just threw a little bit of a headshot of Andrade over Talia Santos there. But listen, man, I am having my concerns about this card. And it's not because we're just coming off a really good hype UFC Perth. It's because this card kind of leaves a little bit to be desired, if you know what I mean. When you have Zach Paiuga in a co-main event against Jordan Wright in Zach Paiuga's like first UFC bout, really, outside of Tough. You look at him, he's got the his last loss was against Muhammad Usman off of Tough, and before that Cage Warriors, and he was on Tough like right in here. So definitely scraping the bottom of the barrel for talent levels this weekend. What do you say we hop right into it?
Yeah, let's just run through this shit.